Welcome to the April 18th Town Board meeting. Peter Pot will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'd like to invite the Reverend Janet Wright, Interfaith Minister, to do our invocation.
Would you please, remain standing. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Let us pray. Holy and loving God of many names, we thank you for the beauty of the lands and waters that surround our town. Thank you for the human government that makes our society possible. We give thanks for the administration and services of justice, safety, education, recreation, health, and well-being that come to us through our town's government. Tonight, we ask you to guide our town board by your Spirit as they use the talents you have given them for planning and decision-making. So it is that we ask for this evening's agenda and deliberations, and in all their thoughts and discussions, that you would give this town supervisor and this town's board members and all those who serve the town of Riverhead the degree of humility, wisdom, and courage they will need to help us to be and become all that we are meant to be. You, O God, in your wisdom and grace, have gathered us here at this time and place for some larger purpose. May we be a blessing to each other. In this room, we know you in many ways, so we ask this blessing by whatever way or name we call you, in great confidence that you hear and love us all. May it be so. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Wright.
We'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 4th, 2017 meeting. So move.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, roll please.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Dunleavy?
Yes.
Minutes are approved. Under, on the agenda, under correspondence, we have a letter from Kathy McGraw expressing her opposition to the proposed fuel cell project at the United Riverhead Terminal. The Riverhead Neighborhood Preservation Coalition sent a letter opposing housing at EPCAL and encouraging the town board to remove residential supportive use from the Plan Development Town Zoning Code. Vincent and Janice Rognetta sent a letter regarding Town Code Chapter 263, which is rental dwelling units, indicating their support for maintaining current Town Code 263-4D1, prohibiting transient rentals. Under reports, tax receiver total tax collection to date as of April 11th, $80,573,541.39. Tax receiver utility collection report for April, $326,075.90. The police department submitted monthly reports for October 2016, November 2016, December 2016, and their annual report for 2016, and January 2017 and February 2017. They were busy. Under applications, there was from the Combined Veterans Committee of Riverhead. They submitted their application for their annual Memorial Day Parade, which is May 29th. And the Riverhead Community Awareness Program, they submitted their application for their March, the Just Say No to Drugs March, and that is June 2nd.
Thank you, Diane. Are there any committee reports?
No, this coming Saturday, actually the 29th of April, is the townwide spring cleanup, where we ask residents to come to Town Hall around, I guess we are 9, but before 9. And we have T-shirts and bags and gloves and picker-uppers, and we'll have something to nosh on, some juices and waters to take with you, and just pick an area of town. We'll have a list of areas to go and police the streets and make the town look good. We're going to probably concentrate around the school campuses and the downtown parks as our goal this year. So the more the merrier. So please come down and join us.
and you all see trash on the side of the road and it all bothers you. So that day is a good day to come out when town supplies the bags and all the materials necessary for you to go out and clean it up. I know my kids are gonna do it as a service project for their
Oh, I got a different area
confirmation.
for them.
So, they'll be doing it all day. And I just wanna say, we have had a great relationship with the New York State DEC when it comes to the recreation trail at EPCAL. We had a meeting with the town engineers and myself and the New York State DEC on Monday to reroute the trail away from the western runway so that Illuminati can feel comfortable and secure in his operations on the runway, that no one that is using the recreation trail will be in harm's way, or disrupting his trying to get his projects through, so, and his runway use, so. It's great, it's coming along, I hope, and the deputy supervisor's been very helpful, and the town board, in authorizing funding for the easement, and the county and the state, and it's a regionally significant project. It's great, it's beautiful. We walked it Monday, and miles of trails that are going off-road and just nature and beauty. The DEC is letting us get within 100 feet of the tiger salamander pond, if you can believe that. But there's going to be a condition that your dog cannot bathe in the pond. So keep your dogs out of the pond when you're walking on the rec trail. We'll be okay. And that's all.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Yeah, just to let you know, the 225th anniversary actually happened in March, but the celebration we have planned for June 9th at the Suffolk Theater is now within 2 months away. And get online and order your colonial outfits, and let's see how interesting people can look. Colonial dress is optional, don't feel that you have to do it, but I know some people are, and they're very excited about it. And we want you to be excited about this too. We're gonna have a great time, a lot of fun. We're gonna have some great music and food, and we can't wait to get it going. So June 9th, Friday night, Suffolk Theater from 7 to 11, and there'll be more information coming up. The parade for the 225th is Saturday, September 16th, 1 o'clock downtown Riverhead.
Thank you.
So you get 2 uses out of your outfit.
Costume.
Right.
I just want to remind everybody that May 1st is coming, and the Riverhead Town Volunteer Ambulance Corps will be starting to charge for automobile accidents at
How's the resolution?
12:01 on May 1st. So if everybody's supposed to have liability insurance with your automobile, they're not gonna charge if they come to your house. They're only gonna charge when they go to a motor vehicle accident. 85% of the accidents that happen in Riverhead are from somebody that doesn't live in the town of Riverhead. So, we have to start to see if we can get the tax dollars down a little bit and start charging, the transport and give medical aid to the people, the victims in automobile accidents. So, if remember when we start something, mistakes can be made. If you get a bill, don't pay it. Just call that phone number on the bill and tell them that you weren't involved in an accident, that somebody might have hit a button wrong, and that they came to your house, and they will straighten it out.
If you get a bill, call Jill.
A different Jill.
Honest
You
officer,
know?
John Dunleavy said that I'm not gonna get arrested, right? Officer.
But I mean, things happen, so just phone that number that they put on there, because they probably need your vehicle insurance number and other information. That the ambulance is not taking any of that information. All they're gonna do is treat the patient. And they'll get it from the hospital, or we'll try to get it from the police department, but if everything else falls, they may have to get it from you, so they may send you a bill, with that information on it, that you have to call it. May 1st, 12:01. We had a public hearing, only one person came, so I didn't think anybody would do.
Speaking of public hearings, why don't we move on to
Okay.
ours?
Thank you, we're gonna start with a public hearing. Public hearing. It's, the time, it's 7:05, it's now 7:14, and we're gonna take a public meeting on parking time limit. 3 hours. No vehicle shall park for longer than 3 hours in the following designated parking lots of Rivertown Parking District, from the hours of 8 o'clock a.m. until 12 o'clock a.m. the next day, Monday through Friday. And that's gonna be, all Saturdays and Sundays? No
Not on
Saturdays?
Saturday and Sundays, and it's 8 a.m. till midnight.
It's 8 a.m. to midnight, 12 a.m.
Right.
That's what I said.
Not the next day.
Or holiday.
Or holiday.
And it just says Monday through Friday, that's it, don't have any exceptions.
Okay. Madam Supervisor and members of the board, I am going to step down from the dais. I don't feel that it's appropriate for me to be sitting up here listening to this public hearing and to be weighing in on comments when I own a building downtown and this directly affects me. My partner is here and he will be speaking on the matter, and I don't want there to be an appearance of a conflict of interest. So I'll excuse myself.
Does anyone have any comments on this public
Anybody,
hearing?
anybody have any comments? Please step up to the podium.
Is there a map available so I can see exactly where we're talking about?
It's the 60.
Is it where it's currently?
It's the 60 green striped parking lots, parking stalls directly behind Tweeds, between Tweeds and Paradise. It's those green
The 60
striped
spots.
stalls.
There's a one-
Basically,
Nothing else has changed except the
The ones
time.
that are
Nothing changing but the
currently
time.
restricted.
Just the time has changed, nothing else.
and is it,
Everything behind the lights are free.
I was confused to what you just said about 5 days a week or 7 days a week. What
It's
is,
5 days a week,
Excuse me,
Monday through
excuse me,
Friday.
excuse me. Councilman.
Are there
Can you
numbers?
please state your
Ray,
name and
can you
Hamlet,
state your
please?
name and-
Ray Dickoff from here, speaking for Summerwind Eastern Properties. All right, so it's not the weekend.
Not the weekend, Monday
Monday
through
through
Friday,
Friday.
from 8 a.m. to midnight. We extended it, it was through the parking district, that's why we put this up. The restaurant people downtown are concerned that a lot of the parking is being used up by residents in Summerwind. So they felt if we push the time limit back to midnight, that means anytime after 9, if you park there, you're golden for the night. And by 9 o'clock, the restaurants feel that they've had their dinner crowd come in and be able to get parking, and then after that, it would be available on a first come,
I have no
first served
objection to the time change, as long as the boundaries are not changing.
No,
So
they're
basically,
not changing
streetlights to the river, basically the streetlights to the river will remain 24/7.
Right.
The
Absolutely.
boundaries are not changed.
For now,
Thank you.
till we start charging.
Anyone else like to be heard on this hearing?
Hi, Robert Barta. I'm here representing the Vale Levitt Music Hall, 18 Peconic Avenue. Riverhead's oldest theater on all of Long Island, National Historic Site. And we back on that parking lot, which is used by us. And my concern was that there be some sort of modification, exception that we could work out with the town and the parking district, because in order to better benefit, as I was speaking with Bobby Hartman from the parking district before, the economic multiplier effect of the idea that people should be able to buy a ticket for a show at our theater, running approximately 2.5 hours long, be able to spend an additional hour either before or after that show patronizing one of the restaurants downtown, and not be penalized with a ticket on their windshield at that point. We'd just like to develop some kind of procedure for dealing with that. It's not as though I have to say at this point, well, I have hopes for the future. At this time, that's not something that's happening on a very regular basis, like every Thursday or Friday night for the Vale Levitt. So I think that it should be something that we could develop some sort of vouchering system or something where tickets can be placed on windshields to allow people to, show that it's just an exception for that specific night for that specific vehicle.
Mr. Barta was kind enough to come in and meet with me today, and it's a very valid point, because they do run shows at the Vale Levitt. They're sporadic, they're not as regular as the Suffolk Theater, but to harm his customers that are gonna come and park for a 2.5 hour show, and then if they wanna go out for dinner or a drink, that 3-hour time limit is gonna be exceeded. So I think it's gonna be a very easy fix. We're gonna be able to do some sort of voucher system through Vale Levitt, so their customers coming in will have a placard or something they will be able to put on their windshield, allowing them to park beyond the 3 hours. and it's a very irregular schedule that they run. It's not like it's every Friday night. It's very sporadic throughout the year, and we certainly don't want to harm the Vale Levitt, and we want them to come and not only go to the Vale Levitt and enjoy it, but go to the restaurants.
Patronize the restaurants and the
frequent
shops and
everybody
stuff as
downtown.
well,
So
absolutely.
I think that's gonna be a very easy fix.
Yeah, I think so too.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Ray DeCava, I'm speaking for Joe's Garage and Grill. Would that plaque system be available for the restaurant owners also?
No, because we felt that 3 hours in your restaurant is long enough.
Well, I run-
Not for you per se, but for parking purposes, that for dinner and a drink or whatever, we felt that 3 hours was a,
3 nights a week, I run live entertainment, it's a 4-hour band,
mhm.
and then with dinner. So that's not really necessarily the case. Maybe some places that just serve food and you're in, you're out, 3 hours is enough. But people that come to me, like I said, I have a band that plays for 4 hours.
We felt that 4 hours was gonna tie up those parking spaces that much more. And in fairness to everybody down there, it was decided in the parking district, I mean, it's just a public hearing, so we'll listen to whatever you have to say.
Okay.
But where we came up with the 3 hours was from the parking district, and we felt that was a fair amount of time for everybody involved. But we certainly can take that into consideration.
I'd like to talk more about this.
Sure.
While I'm here, where are we going from here then, as far as parking spaces? Like, what is gonna be the next step? Because that first piece of property that the Summerwind building is on, I purchased that piece of property in 2002. The master plan was adopted in 2003. Now, 14 years have gone by. The master plan said we were gonna put 500 apartments downtown. I think we built close to 100. I got 52, 22 by the Woolworth, and some random ones. So in 14 years, the town hasn't created a single parking space downtown. In what direction are we going in, or are we just gonna keep restriping and recutting back the hours? Is there something in the works?
Well, yeah, that's part of what the parking district is doing.
I've been on the parking district committee for years, and there's never been talk
I
about,
took over in January and I haven't seen you once, so I don't know what to tell you.
over the past 10 years, I've been on
I've
it.
been here for 10 years. I took
I
it over
have.
in January. We have some new ideas. We're working on different things.
Creating new
I
spots?
invite you to please come down to a meeting and put your 2 cents in. We'd love to hear it.
And your meetings are talking about creating new spots now?
Yes,
They are.
from parking garages to creating new spots to condemnation of property. to
Restriping the north
valet
side.
Services to leasing additional parking spaces.
Paid
We have a
parking.
whole gamut
Putting
that we're
meters in.
exploring.
They're looking at everything.
ILOPs, you know.
The meters and the times and all of that doesn't create new spots. I mean, if you
No,
build
but it
these
frees up
apartments,
Parking so the employees aren't parking. and-
that's a major problem right now, is employees
All day long.
taking up
That's
parking
what's
spaces.
happening down
Yeah, exactly it is. I spend,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm there 7 days a week, 15 hours a day. I see all the employees taking up all the parking spaces down
Absolutely.
there.
And that, some of that onus falls on the business owners themselves.
Absolutely it does.
Because they need to corral their employees also. They're hurting their own business.
Yes, they
So
are.
that's something that has to be explored.
So with these 2 apartment buildings that are being built now, they're in the works, that's happening.
Correct.
What is there gonna be a quick fix to that, or
No, there's no quick fix. There's absolutely no quick fix.
all right. So we'll see what happens when they get built.
Because you need money, number one, which we don't have. So there is no quick fix. Can we make some things better? Yes, we are trying to make some things better, and we're chipping away at it in small blocks at a time, because we don't have the funds to do a huge, either parking garage or huge condemnation of property. So we're chipping away with it at time. We also have time before the apartment complex is coming. One is coming, the other one, we're not so sure yet. Okay, so
All right.
we're working on it.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Cynthia Jones, Summer Wind resident. I've been here for the past couple years in Riverhead, and I live at Summer Wind. I'm a resident. And I live on the 3rd floor. And it was interesting to see the progression of the green zone, which, as we know, wasn't particularly enforced as the green zone. So, specifically speaking as a resident of the apartment complex, Summer Wind, I'm kind of curious as to, y'all know in Riverhead, the businesses and everything. Suffolk Theater, all of the businesses and everything. But as a resident of Summerwind, there are times in the weekend, after a weekend of the people coming in from the city, and the people at the theater, and the people at the restaurants, and the people just being people coming to Riverhead as visitors, that the residents of Summerwind do not have a parking spot. We actually, if y'all are familiar with like Suffolk Community College where you have to fight for your spot, this is basically fight for your right to park. So basically, my question is to you as far as the residents are there, it's a municipal parking spot. So I am aware that there is not a spot that can say like, I can't have my own spot that says Cynthia Spot, but is there gonna be numbers? How is this gonna be enforced? What's the overall plan? What's the big picture?
Pretty much what we just explained. The 3-hour limits on the green parking stalls, that's what's being done. We're asking for it to be extended to midnight. It will be enforced. Part of the problem, or a big part of the problem, there has been no enforcement over the past few years. That's about to change.
Right, but what about the residents of,
Right, but this is about the public hearing about the 3-hour
Okay,
parking. And
so-
so we're just asking for your
Okay.
comments limited to
It's
that.
o-
Okay.
It's only going to involve 66 stalls.
60.
Everything south of the light poles are not going to be effective.
Okay.
So you have all that parking south of the light poles
Okay.
that are white, they're not going to be affected.
right, okay,
Just to reiterate, because I think there was a lot of confusion right from the get-go of what was going on here.
Yeah.
This is a public hearing on a very narrow issue. It's
Extending the
dealing-
time.
It's dealing with a change in the time for 3-hour parking with respect to 60 stalls.
right.
There's no change in the number of stalls. And we're looking to hear from your comments whether you're in favor of the proposal, opposed to the proposal. Other issues that do not have anything to do with this code change.
All right, so
are
let me,
not part of the public hearing. You can bring those to the.
all right, so let me just confirm the understanding. The purpose of this hearing is about the 3 hours.
Purpose of the
The
hearing,
extension.
there's one change that's being proposed. One and
Okay.
only.
And what is that?
It's changing the time of 6 PM to 12 AM. So currently it says that the ban on parking is 3 hours from 8 o'clock AM to 6 o'clock PM. If this change takes effect, it'll be from 8 o'clock AM to 12 o'clock AM. That is the sole change here, and that's what we're looking to hear from the public about.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak on this?
Angela DeVito, South Jamesport. Well, I can appreciate the very narrowness of this particular focus of this hearing. As you've stated, Councilman Hubbard, there's a significant problem that needs to be resolved with regard to parking downtown. Extending the time period for 3 hours to 12 a.m. from 6 p.m., the prohibition there, for just 60 stalls, when you consider the size of Joe's Garage, Tweeds, Mozzie, and the other Parabel and Dark Horse there, even considering if they move people in and out of their restaurants in an hour, you sit down, you get served, you go, and bam, you're out, which people don't move out of those restaurants in an hour. The turnover there and those 60 slots are not sufficient to be business friendly to those restaurants in that parking district. You have 3 hours you can be there, so you can have 60 people, 60 cars parked over that time, and it's not sufficient for those restaurants.
What
It
caused
isn't
the
going to do that.
restaurants to come to the town board, though, was their concern was that people were coming at 7 o'clock and knew they had the rest of the evening.
To park,
because
correct.
Beyond 9 o'clock,
They couldn't do that.
curfew went away.
That,
So-
I understand that, but once again, it's
but
sort of,
It's the restaurants that brought it to the parking district.
well, it just doesn't seem to be something that I don't think it's going to work for them. They're going to be back to you. And again, the parking district there's a municipal lot to the south of it, correct? To which you have 24-hour access. Those spots there are not
Yes,
part of the parking
correct.
district. Okay. Have you considered extending the parking district to the riverfront and doing away with your municipal lot
We have
and
not.
having that prohibition there? So it's just the very sort of Band-Aid approach to it. You know, it's sort of like the block-by-block approach to development doesn't work. And you're going to be discussing this forever because we are going to have
Well,
more
the
residents
approach,
coming in.
Angela, is better than no approach, and at this point in time, this is what the store owners want. and this is why it's being presented.
Well, I think, Tim, I can understand that something is better than nothing. That always seems to be okay. However, that something should be within a context that is much grander, has a much greater scope to it. You can deal with the small aspects of within your greater scope, but it appears as if that's not on the agenda. That's not on the table to have a master plan for your parking.
Hearing tonight.
No, it's not.
Come to a parking district meeting and you'll see the big scope.
Yeah, could I just-
That's where that is
Angela.
discussed. That has nothing to do with the public.
But you
hearing
have
that's
parking,
tonight.
you have parking district as well as municipal lots. And I think people also here need to understand the difference between the two, and why you can have restrictions and not. I'm just saying this narrow approach, while it may be in response to what restaurant owners, you just heard from one who doesn't agree with you, the largest one on the block there, okay, doesn't agree with it, is just too narrow a scope at this particular point to be proposing.
Thank
Angela,
you.
well,
Thank you.
Angela, we're
Yes,
trying
John.
to work with everybody. We're trying to work with the stores, the restaurants, we're trying to work with the apartment houses. That's why, more than half of the parking lot is not regulated with time zone, okay?
Well, John, since when did we
Problem is-
create municipal lots in the town of Riverhead for residential use?
If you go to any emerging town or village,
Mhm.
you'll see that everybody's getting parking meters now. We don't wanna put parking meters up if we can work some other way. So we're trying to work this way, so we don't have to put meters up. All right?
I can understand
That's
that.
our last resort,
Thank you very much.
okay?
But in all fairness, I've sitting through a couple of the parking meters, and I realize the scope of this hearing is only to change the time zone so that people don't park there during peak restaurant hours.
Right.
I get it. But this isn't the only approach. This is just the simplest, right?
Right.
Yeah. But there's pile-ups we're talking about parking structure, we're talking about metered parking, we're talking about surface parking. So there are lots of discussions, so it's not just a narrow approach. There's quite an extensive approach going on right now with the solar park.
We got any other speakers? If not, we'll close the public meeting and leave it open to written comment until April 28th. So moved.
Okay, we're gonna move on to resolutions. Does anyone have any comments with regard to resolutions before us tonight?
Now?
No.
You did a good job.
You only got a couple of
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Laura Jen Smith from Laurel. I just have a question on one resolution. I believe it's Resolution 271, which is the geological survey. That the transfer for the funds is from R&M for $60,000. And I just have a couple.
That's not even accurate. This is the wrong resolution.
Yeah, right,
Is it? Did I have the wrong number?
Honestly, it's not supposed to be from that account. It's supposed to be from water key money.
So it's from Water Key.
That's an error. I know that you supplied us with a new one, but that's not the correct
They wanna
resolution.
amend it?
So we're going to have to amend that. It's coming out of water key money.
Water Key money. And so then my other question is, when the original proposal came through, that it was gonna be $48,000 and hopefully $12,000 federal
For
fund
grant,
match?
correct.
Yes, and I'm just curious what happened with that.
So the grant is being applied for by USGS. It's not a grant that the town's applying for, so they're still applying for those funds.
So then the money will get returned to the Water Key money
Absolutely.
when it comes through?
Absolutely.
And then my other question is, in the contract with them, there was, I believe they said by April, they were gonna, and I don't know if it was, if they started already, they were gonna identify 4 to 5 wells for observation, and I'm wondering when we'll know what wells they are doing to.
I don't know, but I'm happy to follow up and get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Please step up.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Patrick Perrone. I'm with the law firm of K&L Gates.
Raise the mic up, please.
Yes, sir.
What resolution?
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. My name is Patrick Perrone. I'm an attorney. I'm at the law firm of K.L. Gates in Newark, New Jersey. I'm here with respect to resolution number 298 to declare Riverhead Sound Associates LLC in default in connection with the subdivision entitled, quote, Aquabogue Golf Resorts, AKA Highlands at Aquabogue, unquote. I know I've not been here before this panel, but so I appreciate the time and I try not to take too much of it. If I can give some brief history to my involvement, I know this project has gone on for a long time. I've read through the resolution that Mr. Kosikovich has sent. I know that there have been a number of extensions. You may or may not know that there's currently litigation between the Homeowners Association, Beechwood, which is the current developer, my client, which is Riverhead Sound Associates LLC. We've brought in another defendant, D.F. Stone, who we believe did the site work for the roads at issue and the pond at issue, although I believe before your panel it's primarily focused on the roads. My intent and my goal, since I was brought into this case, and frankly it's been only fairly recently, October, November of last year, and I know that's that's not your issue or a problem for you. It's a problem for me in terms of the timing. I appreciate that. But what I've tried to do, and I think I'm making some progress now, and I hope to make real progress in the next couple of weeks, because I understand the deadline for the default, or really the extension is through May. So I would ask that you don't declare default tonight, but give us some 2-3 weeks to see if I can come back to you with some real progress. What I've tried to do is get all the parties who were involved. That's my client, Beechwood, who took over the development and pursuant to an agreement between our two entities, is to pave the roads. I understand the dispute is they would pave the roads, but they thought that some additional work had to be done before they could simply pave, so I appreciate that issue. That's why I've brought D.F. Stone in. I've talked to their attorney. I've talked to all the attorneys. We're going to have a meeting next week. I'm hoping that what we can do, and frankly to some mutual benefit, I suppose, to everyone, my client, the other defendants, the Homeowners Association, and the township, is that the township does not have to step in, does not have to take over the project. We can end up among the parties resolving this issue, come up with a pot of money that satisfies everybody and can actually do the work. I've hired an expert. He's gone out there. His proposal for the roads, frankly, is that you need to get rid of the top layer of asphalt and then re-asphalt it. You don't need to go into the base coat. And I think if I can get agreement on that proposal with the Homeowners Association, then there probably is an amount of money that will cost, which could probably be divvied up in a way among the parties that'll get the job done. So I'm asking, frankly, that you don't declare a default tonight. Give me, I'm going to meet with all the lawyers next week. Give me a couple of weeks to try to get the parties down here even, get a meeting, get a lump of money together, and hopefully I can get this resolved. So I appreciate your time and attention. I apologize for, in essence, coming so late to the party, but
It's been a long time coming for these residents here, and
I know.
just want to ask the town attorney, if this is passed tonight, is there any time in which they can start doing work that gives them some flexibility as far as the town's actions concerned?
No, the town of Riverhead has been asking the partners to resolve this for at least 4 years. And the fact that the residents have been suffering this whole time and have come, and the fact that it's a dispute between a buyer and a seller, and has nothing to do with the town of Riverhead, it would really be a civil action from the Homeowners Association against whoever may be responsible. So we are not getting involved in that. All we are getting involved in is that it's been over 10 years since this project started, and these residents are fed up. So we're gonna move forward with the resolution tonight, and I am anyway, and I recommend that you call the town attorney in the morning and try and figure something out with him as to when our contractors are gonna go out and do the work, if you don't.
I don't understand why everybody waits to the last minute to say, we're gonna fix this, okay? Like, say, this 10 years we've been waiting. Finally, we made a decision that we're gonna fix it, we're gonna call the bond, and we're gonna fix it. Unless you speak to the town attorney, and he comes to us and says, we worked this out, but other than that, we're gonna pass this tonight, we're gonna call the bond, and we'll fix the roads. You can't come at the last minute and say, I'm gonna do it.
I appreciate that fact, and as I said, I mean, I'm late to the party, and that's my position. I have reached out to Mr. Kosikovich. You know, I am attempting to do something that will take this off your plate. I understand your position, And all I'm asking, I suppose, is for, you'll do whatever you're going to do tonight, and some flexibility if I come to you in the next couple of weeks and say, I've got something done, you don't have to do it, I take it off your plate.
Cool.
Thank you.
I can tell you.
Yeah, let me say something.
I was gonna say,
I want to, if I could, because Mr. Perone has been reaching out to me and contacting me to indicate that he was recently appointed by Kushner to represent them in the litigation. I've been speaking with Mr. Perone as this matter's been going along, and he has indicated to me, and he's been telling me that he's reaching out to the attorney for Beechwood. He has brought in D&F Stone, meaning that he's brought a third-party action to bring them in, and I did hear from their counsel, Ed McCabe, who's indicated that he will be speaking with his insurance company this week, and we'll have some answers by the end of the week whether they can, get some movement on their end. They have until May 17th, under the last extension, and made it clear to Mr. Perone, and I think the neighbors and the residents have made it clear to the town board, no further extensions past May 17th. But that's our drop dead for declaring the default, because they could do work until May 17th.
Okay.
So I say that if the board were inclined to give Mr. Perone a 2-week waiver and take this action up on May 2, you could, but that's up to you.
It's not gonna change the end.
Thank you very much.
Not interested in that.
You gotta look
Okay,
at it
waited
up.
too long for this to happen and to jump into the game now and say that you're willing to help out. I think it's a day late and a dollar short. So we're gonna go. I'm going through with this.
That's fine, and if I understand that, but if I can say this, if I can get it done and we get the money for it, I'm assuming you don't want to have to do the work yourselves.
Right. We would rather not.
Yeah, and I want to just have the opportunity to come back to you and say, okay, I've got it resolved, I have a check, I'm going to settle it with the homeowners association. And frankly, the homeowners association at that time would go out and retain, whoever they want to do the work.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You have 30 days.
It's gonna cost
Thank
us
you very
more
much.
if we do it.
Right.
No, I understand. I appreciate all of that, and I appreciate your time. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
Anyone
Anybody else want to speak?
Good evening. I'm Susan King. I'm the,
Bring it like that.
bring it down? Not as tall, huh? I'm the vice president of the Homeowners Association at the Highlands of Aquabog. I appreciate Mr. Perone's visit here from New Jersey tonight. But I'd like to point out, I know he did say he had a consultant from his client walk the grounds. I personally walked the grounds with that engineer. I have some background myself in my past experience. And that was about 3 months ago. And at that time, when the engineer left, he put circles on our road where he was going to have core samples done to see exactly what the situation was with the problem layer. They're still there. They're still painted. They've been snowed on, paved over, not paved over, but we've had some potholes that had to be taken care of. But it's a 10-year-old community, and the HOA, we're not the bad guys here. We're between a rock and a hard place. We're between Soundview Associates and Beechwood, who came in 3 years ago and took over what was left from Riverhead. All promises were made. We're still looking at it, and on behalf of the 79 homeowners with their families and their guests, we do appreciate greatly the efforts of the town of Riverhead in following up on what has happened to us here, and definitely respect your diligence and all. And again, we want to thank you for your efforts on this behalf, our behalf. Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak? On any resolution?
Okay.
Oh, wait, yeah, we got some.
Hi, my name's Brendan Degan. I'm here from Elite Feats. Sorry, councilmen and women, I'm unfamiliar with the process, but we're here to speak about Resolution 292 about putting on a 5K road race in July, and just want to take this opportunity to introduce myself and my business partner and wife, and didn't know if you had any questions for us while we're here.
No, I spoke, I guess,
With Jen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Jill. We spoke on the phone, and we, one of the concerns with Councilwoman Giglio was what we spoke about, which was how the parking was going to be handled during Mass for St. Isidore's. So when I spoke to the owner of Long Ireland, he has since submitted a parking plan, which will now make sure that there's security, that will make sure that there's no one parking in the church parking or in the Polish Town Hall parking, and in those areas in which parishioners may be utilizing parking for Mass. So I think you've addressed their concerns unless there's anything else.
Yeah.
No, that was it.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Good luck. Any other speakers on any other resolution?
Good job.
Okay.
Good job.
This being full resolution.
Okay.
Resolution 270.
270. Riverhead Bay Homes, water main installation, water capital project, budget adjustment, so moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 271.
Riverhead Water District
Excuse me, I'm
Geological.
sorry, this is the one we need to.
We're gonna amend. Riverhead Water District Geological Survey Budget Adoption. So moved as amended, coming out of Q1.
I'll second as amended.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard,
Yes, as amended.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 272.
Authorizing removal of fixed asset records from system, so moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 273.
Awards bid for GASB 45 actuarial services for the town of Riverhead. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 274.
Appoint student intern to the accounting department, so moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 275.
This appoints a student intern to the accounting department. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 276.
Appoints a polling clerk to the tax receiver's office, so moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 277.
Appoints a provisional senior engineering aide. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio.
I'm voting no.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 278.
Reassigns the salary of an assistant recreational program coordinator, so moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 279.
This appoints a provisional recreation leader.
I need to table, we need to table this one. I'm sorry, we need to table this one, because of posting. We need to post it.
Table?
Okay.
Okay, I'll move to table 279, which appoints a provisional recreation leader. So moved to table.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard,
Yes. To table.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes to table.
Resolution 279 is tabled.
Okay, this-
Resolution 280.
Approves an administrative site plan for an addition to the Suffolk County Historical Society Museum, so moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 281.
Appoints a call-in assistant recreation leader 2 to the recreation department. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 282.
Ratifies the appointment of a call-in recreational aide to the recreation department, so moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 283.
As the Riverhead Recreation Department sets the fees for the 2017 Spring Summer Brochure. So moved.
Second.
Moved Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 284.
Need just a minute for this one.
Authorizes the selling of the annual beach permits by Angelo's Deli, Bates, and Warren's Tackle Center. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 285.
Authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement with D&B Engineers and Architects, P.C. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 286.
Authorize the supervisor to execute an addendum to an agreement with L.K. McLean Association Incorporated for survey of EPCAL bicycle path. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yahoo, yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 287.
This authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement authorizing the town to accept funds from the Suffolk County Office for the Aging to supplement the town's residential repair program for the elderly. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 288.
Oh, wait a minute here.
Consents to the terms and conditions of a revenue recovery service agreement between the Riverhead Volunteer Ambulance Corps Incorporated and Certified Ambulance Group Incorporated regarding emergency medical transportation services and emergency medical services involving motor vehicle accidents. Authorizes implementation on May 1st, 2017 at 12 a.m. of the previously established ambulance district user fee schedule in the Riverhead Ambulance District. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
John, you did it before you left. Congratulations. Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
That's
Resolution 289.
Awards bid for disposal and recycling of municipal solid waste. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 290.
Approves the chapter 255 application of the Malibu Fire Department Rush Truck Training Event, Sunday, May 21st, 2017. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Sorry. Resolution adopted. Resolution 291.
Walter abstains anyway.
Yes, I did.
291 ratifies the approval of the Chapter 255 application of Church of the Harvest for their youth program plant sale fundraiser. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
I hope it
Yes.
was-
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 292.
Approves the chapter 255 application of Elite Feats Incorporated for the 5K road race, Long Island Summer Classic, July 8th, 2017. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 293.
Approves Chapter 255 application of Jamesport Manor Inn Rosé Festival, Saturday, July 8th, 2017. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 294.
Approves the chapter 255 application of Long Island Antique Power Association 25th Annual Tractor Pull and Engine Show. So moved.
Second.
Oh, this is gonna be on, May 20th and 21st, and then one on July 8th to the 9th. So moved.
Seconded again.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 295.
This adopts a local law amending Chapter 237 entitled Highways, Streets, and Sidewalks in the Riverhead Town Code, more specifically 237-13 penalties for offenses. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
This has to do with the snow removal and business owners and cleaning up their sidewalks. Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 296.
Authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement with Telecom Data Service, Inc. So So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 297.
Ratifies execution of drainage easement in connection with amended drainage of Old Vine Golf, also Reeves Golf LLC. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 298.
Declares Riverhead Sound Associates LLC in default in connection with the subdivision entitled Aquabogue Golf Resorts, AKA Highlands of Aquabogue. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 299.
Oh, good. Lord. Authorizes co-sponsorship of a Live on 25th Street Festival on Thursday nights, July 13th, July 27th, August 10th, and August 24th, 2017. Rain date, August 31st, 2017, 5 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. With the Riverhead Business Improvement District Management Association Incorporated along Main Street between Griffin Avenue and Union Avenue, and authorizes the supervisor to execute a license agreement with designated craft food vendors, alcohol vendors, and other parties. Suspends enforcement of Riverhead Town Code Section 205-3, public consumption of open possession of alcoholic beverages, as solely limited to the aforementioned dates, times, and place of the Alive on 25th Street Festival. So moved. That's a whole minute commercial right there.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 300.
Approves Chapter 255 application of Riverhead Rotary, Riverhead Rotary Garden Festival, May 11th through May 14th, 2017. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
We'll give the supervisor a pass on this one, yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 301.
Authorizes town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for well and pump service for the water district. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 302.
Authorize the town supervisor to execute an agreement with Jeffrey Seaman, CGCS/CEP is his title. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 303.
No, there's a mistake on the resolution, should be 203. The number, it's just numbered improperly.
Oh, okay.
So it's 303.
It's
302.
303.
The one prior was
Yep,
302.
right.
Okay, 302 is it
No,
302 or 303?
303.
Just pay bills.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right, resolution 303 is to pay bills. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
He's thinking about it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
Looks like big all in. Get it all in one shot.
Okay, we'd like to open the meeting now for anyone who'd like to speak to the town board on any issues. We ask that you please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Please come to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Antoinette Miranda Carbone. I came twice to the town attorney's office, and he was busy, so I figured I can get him here tonight. He could help me.
Yeah.
She was right.
You got me.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. I live in a.
I know well about the issue.
No, there's more to that.
Okay.
The thing is, the understanding, I printed out the code, was that if we change the lights from the existing lights from 2003 or 2002 to the new LED lights, we have to come to the planning board? To change a bulb, we have to come to the planning board?
It's my understanding that the intensity has been increased by the changing of the lights. That's
True.
more intense.
That's
So therefore,
true.
there's more glare. And frankly, I was hoping that the neighbors could work this out themselves.
What we
to be
tried.
quite honest.
We tried.
So that's, you know, this is when I hear about complaints, my neighbor's air conditioning is too loud.
No,
What do you do, Mr. Town Attorney? That's what we're talking about.
It's not only your situation, it's throughout the town.
No.
Where there are existing lights and then people wanna change them.
I
over
just
and they
want to know
So,
if not just for Sunken Ponds, every private community is going through the process of changing their lights and not knowing they have to go to the planning board. It's like saying, I'm going to change the ceiling light here, but I got to get 5 people to do it.
you have to be careful too, because the Attorney General's office also has specifications of those lights, and if you're changing those lights.
We haven't changed the fixture. We changed the bulb. So they still have the.
This one, I love you, Antoinette.
You know?
She's good. She's good on her safety.
I did my research yesterday and today. I was only made aware of the fact yesterday. I was told I had to be at a HOA meeting this morning. She has a legitimate argument. You know, if you live near something that's glaring into your house, it's annoying. But the overall issue, that's just one poll out of, I don't know how many polls are in the community. I would think maybe easy 100. I don't know. But if that one poll we could address, that's fine. But does that mean we have to come in to the planning board to even do that, to change the bulbs? We didn't change it through the entire community. We're waiting for them to blow out, and then we do the change.
You have to be dark sky compliant according to our code.
It is. It complies with that.
And I don't know either.
Oh, no. The problem is you have the dark top lid. You have light coming from the sides, and it could hit someone's window. But that's not what I'm asking.
This came from, Richard Downs wrote a notice of violation.
I got it. I got a copy of it.
The way to handle it, obviously, would not be a discussion at a town board meeting, but I understand you came to see me.
Twice.
Yeah. Right, because.
I'm patient.
And the first question is, why don't you go see Mr. Downs to talk to him about the issue, because it's a code enforcement, but
And Mike, it's okay. He's saying it's not necessarily, I know, I think that Bob is going to be as perfectly capable of answering.
It's, the intensity of the bulbs were increased, that's part of the
No
problem.
one denied that.
So by,
Those
you
LEDs
had
are
an
different.
approved plan, the approved plan spelled out how bright the intensity would be. You made a change to the approved site plan, whether it's as minimal
All right,
as you
so
say it
then
is.
every
it's a change.
community has to come to
If they
you.
make a change to an approved site plan, you add.
That's what
you
I
add-
wanted to
You add
know.
buildings, you add structures, you move things, you're now amending
I
your
just
site
thought
plan.
it was strange about light bulbs, but if that's what has to be done, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah,
I could have had that answered this afternoon.
I know.
Okay.
When was the project built, Antoinette?
Sunken Ponds Estates is, I think, the oldest section, Phase 1. I'm there 12 years. That's 15 years old.
Yeah, so the dark skies, I think it came into effect in 2005, Bob?
They had everything had to come to compliance by end of 2013.
Yeah, that's not, we're compliant. It's
just
just that because we didn't change the lamp post, that you understand.
Yep.
Just the bulb.
I understand.
It's like changing the bulb in my,
And that's why I was
Lamp.
hoping, again, the property owners could work this out, shield her. I don't know why you can't shield her property, why you can't do some other
we
thing.
can't.
So-
I gave him a suggestion.
and-
We'll work on it.
And sit down, and sit down with everybody, that's what I was thinking.
Next time I come,
Thank you, Antoinette.
Well, if you waited
I'll
around
make
a
an
few more moments,
appointment.
I was finishing up the call, so.
Anyone else like to be heard?
It's a hard act to follow. Good evening, Rex Farr, Cowarden. I'm here on behalf of, I'm the coordinator for the Committee Against FCAL Housing. We're going to go on record as to our position. I'll have a copy of my statement to each and every one of you. There is considerable debate in Riverhead over the proposal sale of EPCAL land to Illuminati. We as a coalition do not, as a coalition of civic and neighborhood associations, environmental groups, take a position on the Illuminati sale. However, we believe it is essential that the letter of intent and any other agreement or contract with Illuminati must explicitly forbid housing construction at EPCAL now or in the future. This should not be a problem since Illuminati's representative have told the News Review that the company has no plans to build housing or retail at the site. Housing has no place in that realm, end of quote. More than a dozen neighborhood associations already agree that, let me back up. Riverhead citizens and taxpayers must also be protected over the long term in case the Illuminati deal does not go through. Supportive use number 1 and any other language in the planned development zoning that permits housing construction at EPCAL must be completely repealed. More than a dozen neighborhood associations already agree that housing at EPCAL would violate its intended purpose of generating economic development and growth and be a burden, on the taxpayers. Individual citizens are invited to join us in sending that message to you and the supervisor and members of the town board by signing the petition, which is on our website, www.thecaeh.com. We are gratified that a majority of the town board have informed us that they not only will support prohibition of housing construction by Illuminati, but also will take action to repeal the zoning language that permits any housing in the future. We request that a resolution be adopted tonight or at the next work session on April 20th at the earliest possible hearing date for the requisite of code revision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jen Hartnagel, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Group for the East End. We're simply here tonight to lend our support to the coalition statement and let you know that the group has taken a position on the housing use since the get-go. We've submitted comments throughout the secret process at the scoping portion, the DEIS portion, the zoning code hearing, and we also sent our letter of opposition to the Suffolk County Planning Commission. So our position has not been a new one, and we do ask that you take the advice of the statement and please move quickly on this, add language into the contract, and then work to get the code repealed on this issue. Thank you.
Phil Barbado, representing the Riverhead Neighborhood Preservation Coalition. We'd also like to support, and we are a member of the group Citizens Against EPCAL Housing. As citizens and taxpayers, we oppose all the actions by the supervisor and members of the town board that promote or enable any housing at EPCAL. Housing is detrimental, unnecessary, and costs our community, and contradicts the intended purpose of EPCAL to generate economic development. The major reasons are three. The first one is housing makes no sense. In 1998, the U.S. Navy gave the former Grumman site to Riverhead Town in an agreement that it would be used for economic development, to increase the tax base, to create jobs, and to attract investment. Housing has never been shown to accomplish these goals. It is a fact that during its peak, Grumman Corporation had 4,000 employees, and none of them lived at EPCAL. 4,000. It is also a fact that there are numerous industrial and manufacturing sites on Long Island that are much larger and do not include so-called supportive residential housing. Houses do not mix well with commercial industrial development, and the current buyer agrees with that. As reported in the News Review and as Mr. Farr has already stated, Illuminati has no plans to build housing at the retail site. Their spokesman said, quote, "This is a place designed for aerospace, and that's what we're going to use it for. Housing has no place in that realm." So the buyer doesn't even want housing. The problem with that is that's just a statement in the newspaper, and we need to do a little bit more than just listen to what's quoted in the newspaper. The second reason we're opposed is that housing costs taxpayers money. Providing public services such as education, police, fire protection, water and sewage would be an expensive burden to the taxpayers of Riverhead, especially if the IDA were to grant tax exemptions for the development. Under normal conditions, houses cost more money than they bring in. If they're tax deferred, it's even worse. So residential development is a net loss to the town budgets, bringing in less tax payments than the cost of providing services to the residences. The third reason is housing is not limited and cannot be controlled in the future. The zoning code that was passed that covers only this area is broad and murky, and the definition of principal use will allow an unlimited number of homes to be constructed at EPCAL. There's nothing to prevent the resale of these homes by the owner to non-employees. What would happen to the residents if a principal business decided to relocate? How would ownership or control of a residence be resolved if a worker resigned or was terminated? Over time, the original promise for allowing housing as a supportive use will never be realized, and we will be left with the negative results as taxpayers. So therefore, we urge you to carefully consider these points and their impact on the existing and future citizens of our town. The town needs to do two things. It needs to amend any contract for sale to exclude the construction of housing, and must also modify the current town law to remove the residential supportive use from the Planned Development Code. That's section 301-341B. The current owner, or the current buyer, says he doesn't need housing. Maybe he's telling the truth, maybe he's not, maybe he's going to change his mind. Maybe he's going to sell the property the next day. Then what? So not only do we need to put that in the contract, we need to do long-term or longer term, it may only take a few months, change the code so it's not in there at all. Both things need to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else like to be heard?
My name is Kathy McGraw. I'm here on behalf of the Northville Beach Civic Association. I am the vice president of that organization. We're just here to echo the sentiments that were just expressed by Phil Barbado and Mr. Farr. EPCAL is for economic development. Housing has no place there, costs the town more than it takes in property taxes. And I would suggest exactly what Phil suggested, two courses of action. One, a clause in the contract that says that Illuminati will relinquish its rights under the zoning code to develop supportive housing at EPCAL. And also a withdrawal of that provision of the zoning code from that 301-341B. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just for the record, I voted no for the zoning because it did have residential housing in it.
Good evening.
Put that on record?
Just saying.
Hi, how are you?
Good evening. My name's Jason Safford. I'm the owner of 96 Creek Road. At the last meeting, I showed some pictures. I'm just giving you an update. This is a comparison of last September to last week in terms of what has occurred because of the storms that have taken away the sand on the beach. So you're talking about, this is a 5-foot ladder here. That's a significant drop in terms of the sand on the beach. To address a couple of things at the last meeting, it was Steve Popovich, who owns the property that includes the creek. I was told that he was an obstruction. I've spoken with Mr. Popovich. He said that he wants the dredging to occur and has never obstructed the town. He has lost more sand than probably everybody, so he is very eager to see the dredging occur so that he can his property as well as all of ours can be refilled. I've also spoken with Al Krupski, Legislator Krupski, and he agrees. He actually went to the beach and saw the damage, agrees the dredging should occur. He understands that the issue is with the Department of Environmental Conservation in terms of working out the timing. But he also said that there wasn't an application from the town filed in March as far as he knew. So
Was or was not?
there was not. As far with the DEC or the county. Again, my questions in terms of the town: what are they doing to protect the property owners? Because obviously, not only is the bulkhead exposed, but if there's another storm and we're coming up on hurricane season, we're in a much more compromised position at this point going forward. But additional to that is obviously what consideration can be made working with the town to prevent this in the future. One of the things that I look at is the fact that this last beach fill was done because of Hurricane Sandy, and obviously nothing has been done since then. That was 5 years ago. And I think we need to be on a recurrent schedule of making sure that there's some matter of prevention rather than, trying to cure things at a later date. In addition to the dredging issues and the beach fill, I've also made attempts to contact the superintendent of highways with regards to the road. I have not had any success.
The road is on the list this year. He plans to pave the road.
Right, and my questions are in terms of the road maintenance going forward. There are a couple of things. One is actually I'm putting a complaint on the record in terms of a long-standing issue with the road has been the number of cars that travel down Creek Road with no purpose to go see and make sure that the creek is still there. And my suggestion is speed bumps would probably, deter some of these cars from happening. But additional to that is the fact that there are a lot of young children, and a lot of these cars go way faster than necessary. So I'm simply putting the suggestion of speed bumps on the record. Additional to that is the complaint of flooding. There's only one home on the creeks on the marsh side of the road. And again, if the superintendent were to come out and meet with us, I'm sure we could mitigate to correct the flooding issue, because during high tides, and again, we have to take into account that the overall water levels have risen. There is a way to mitigate so we can have access even during high tides, because right now the low point in the road, which is between that house and the Gray Beach Club, the road is inaccessible. And if we were simply to put in French drains or some other drainage solutions that mitigate both the flooding from his concern, which again during high tide he floods anyway because he's on the marsh side. The last point I want to bring up is with regard to the 30-day rental law, and my questions are simply regarding when the law was originally passed or proposed, what was the objective of the law, and was there a proper public survey done with regard to the 30-day law when it was originally proposed? How were existing businesses affected by this law? Has there any study been done? And what are the advantages of the law? Who is being targeted, and have those people been successfully deterred? If there are any disadvantages of the 30-day law, who is being discriminated, and what considerations have been to those people in terms of their discrimination?
That was a long list.
Yeah.
Have you by any chance, with dealing with the road and drainage issues, have you ever contacted the highway superintendent?
Several times. I have not gotten any response from anybody. I've written emails as well as called the phone number and left messages.
The problem we have is he's an elected official.
Yeah.
We cannot tell him what to do.
Right.
All we can do is give him the money for his budget.
Right.
So you would have to, you would have to contact him,
Okay.
about these,
But I'm happy if you give me your contact information. I don't mind trying to coordinate something, because I
Right.
spoke with the highway superintendent. He told me that he's paving Creek Road this year, and I think we should just maybe coordinate that after the meeting, if that's okay with you.
That's fine. That's
As far as the creek's concerned, I know that Legislator Krupski actually was down at the end of the creek with our town engineer.
Right.
Because I guess we're starting to go forward with some soundings, and the soundings will then allow us to submit to the county to see if they can bring their dredge in and potentially dredge the creek for the town.
Okay.
And I don't know what permit you're referring to, if I'm not mistaken, but I haven't looked at it in a while. I thought our PUC permits were for 10 years. So if I'm not mistaken, our permits, it's still in effect, but I can look into that and
Yeah,
again, we'll sit down and talk.
I'm new to the process as well, so I'm trying to learn, and again, that's why I'm bringing it to the attention that I did call and simply relay the information, find out what was being done, and Mr. Krupski just gave me what he knew and what he didn't know, and said just keep following up.
Yeah, I think
So-
our permit is 10 years, and it really has, I mean, it's not only a financial issue, because obviously it's very costly, but because of every storm and the windows in which we can dredge between the winter flounder and the pipe and clover, we have a very limited period, and what happens, we dredge, and then a storm will come, and we find ourselves, so we did look at long-range potential solutions, which was like rerouting the creek back to its original location. It was millions and millions of dollars to bring it back before,
Right.
back to where before we'll go ahead, put it in the place that it is now.
But we encourage you to keep going to Legislator Krupski and to your state senator and state assemblyman, because emergency services also, if somebody should need to launch and get out there, it's very important
Right.
for emergency services,
That's-
especially.
Yeah, and again, my goal is to work with the town to find out how do we get this resolved. So again, as taxpayers and as properties owners on the beach, again, we're protected, and we're not concerned about this, as well as making it easy for you guys.
we've always
So-
put the sand on the beach. And that's how we always put the sand on the beach.
Right.
After we dredge.
Right. That's
all we can do.
yeah.
And then what happens is, we only can dredge in January before the northeasters come. Once the northeasters come, we can't dredge again because of piping pulvers and the winter flounder.
Right.
DEC will not let us. So they give us a month opening to dredge, and that's about all we have. And I think 2 years ago, they gave us an exemption.
It was longer than that ago, and that was for emergency. We actually,
Right.
that was still when we were working with, we still were getting our money from the utility.
Yes.
That was helping us dredge, so that's how that was coming about also. It was between FEMA helping us, which the chief of police would make applications if there were storms and it filled in the creek, then they would give us money, but even that, how many more times do you think that's even possible for us to go to? I think that they're saying that we need to find a more permanent solution and not just keep coming to them after every storm.
Right.
But they should know
And
that.
there was a problem with the jetty too, so, I mean, the removal of the jetty by the Lipa facility and the routing of the water and the erosion, the beach erosion, so there was all of that was taken into
We tried to get
consideration too.
jetties out there, the DEC wouldn't let us.
I'm happy
They
to
won't
sit
let
down
us
with
do
you
anything.
and discuss this, but I'll let the board address the 30-day rental.
The 30-day rental came to code revision because we had a lot of houses throughout the town, specifically in Aquabog and Jamesport, that were weekend rentals, people coming to weddings, 25 people staying in a house, garbage being left out on a Sunday night when the garbage doesn't pick up till Tuesday, and raccoons knocking it over and garbage in the streets, parties, skinny dipping in neighbors' pools, all kinds of stuff. We got complaints. And so something had to be done about it. Our taxpayers, especially our taxpayers in general, pay a lot in property taxes. And quality of life issues are very important to this town board, which is why the board voted to put the restriction no less than 30 days, which is similar to what other towns do also.
Okay. So in terms of going forward, obviously we're an investment property community, and I've brought this up before, but how do we work with the town going forward in terms of, obviously this is a question, for later, but how do we work going forward if we want to change or amend or get a variance for a Creek Road, since these are beachfront
I think we're on
properties?
litigation right now.
I think
something that's
we're in
being,
litigation,
that's
so
being discussed.
we can't discuss how we can go forward.
Mhm.
We're just in discussion,
How we got
an
there.
executive session on how we're gonna do this, and what we can't say publicly, because of litigation.
Okay, so,
That's
so,
how it came about, if you
fair
were
enough.
asking.
So that's something that I can discuss at a later date with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Laura Jen Smith again from Laurel. Would like to say that I would like to lend my support to the coalition, to the Stop EPCAL Housing. And I'd also like to just address the board that the clock has started ticking. You are 30 days now before you do your definitive agreement. So I urge you to really take into consideration what the coalition is presenting to you about housing at EPCAL, and to put something into the definitive agreement about not allowing housing to go forward at EPCAL, especially in light of the fact that Luminati, the buyer, is saying that they don't want it. So it seemed like it would be an easy thing to do, and at least get it into the definitive agreement before you go to contract. So I would hope that you would work hard and really take a moment to think about it and consider doing that. And then I just have a couple other questions also about the letter of intent since it was signed. I have a question about the total acreage. The letter of intent seems to say the whole EPCAL property, and then Supervisor Walter was quoted in the paper as saying 1,400 acres. So is it the purchase for the 2,323 acres, or is it for a 1,400 acre parcel? Under the letter of intent, what are they looking to buy?
In the letter of intent, it excludes certain parcels, including the core area, which is lot 48, which equates to almost 400 acres. And then there are other properties that are being taken out, which are the water district properties, the town park, and other properties that are taken out of that acreage. So that's how I believe that they came up with the final number of 1,400. I haven't seen the map. The map is in the, since the map is being revised to make larger pieces of property, to make it easier to subdivide, so that we can sell them in the chunks, and then he can go based on these individual lots for proposed development areas. So there's acreage that has been taken out. That acreage and those properties are specified in the letter of intent.
I did see that.
So-
But I think for clarity and transparency for the public, I think we should know the exact number of acreage
Well, we
that's
do know that.
up for sale.
That 600 acres of property is what can be developed in the
Well,
site.
that,
I tell you, this is the first time I hear about 1,400 acres.
I think
No,
Sean,
I don't know.
Sean,
Huh?
Sean,
Find out, we'll let-
well, I think
when we
Sean
find out,
spoke,
we'll let you know.
I think
But
Sean
no
spoke to the
one spoke to
papers
us
and
yet.
said it was 1,400 acres that was
So
that
I
they were
don't know where they're
purchasing,
getting
and
their
600
information from.
developable. So,
But there's
it's
also-
confusing.
There's also other things that are being worked out. I mean, there's a 25-foot easement from the recreation trail that's going to be pulled out of the total acreage. I had conversations with Senator Laval, who's interested, and maybe some more acreage adjoining the incubator, so that we can carve out a piece and add on to the incubator acreage. So all of that, we're gonna discuss it in work session. These are all things that have transpired over the last few days as to.
Well, I don't think it should be brought up in a public meeting now when we haven't even discussed this.
Right. Laura, I
don't
understand what you're
understand
saying.
it.
And
think that-
I just have a couple other questions too, and I know that you said that's only 600 is developable, but I believe in the letter of intent, it says the buyer will not be precluded from seeking to amend the taking permit after the closing. And if you can then reverse the taking permit, you can add extra acreage for development of above and beyond that 600 acres. Is
But
that
the-
not correct?
If you look at what the New York State DEC incidental take permit requires, it requires that you are protecting as much habitat as you're developing. So if there's an endangered species it's just a mathematical.
But there's no binding agreement to that effect, correct?
It is, if you need an incidental take permit from the DEC, there is.
So
I mean,
it
that's
binds,
the
it,
requirement of the land because it's endangered species.
but I don't think that the DEC has come to a final resolution on this property. I have not seen.
I'm happy to share with you information that I have from them.
Okay, I'd like to see the binding covenant over it.
It's not a covenant because the covenant wouldn't get filed until.
But the taking permit, but then why would you then have to, can you take this clause out then? That they're not precluded from seeking to amend the taking permit and keeping the existing taking permit as is?
The reason that they might want to amend it is because they might want to protect more grassland and then develop a different area.
But they also may want to have the taking permit and petition the taking permit to expand their development, correct? They'd have to approach the DEC and ask for it. But they would be allowed to do that with that language, correct?
It's not my understanding that the DEC is looking to expand been working with him for 3 years.
No, I
And,
understand that.
Unless these endangered species leave the property overnight, within.
But we have no final decision from the DEC on the full EPCAL property, correct?
No, we have findings, that's what we.
We have
started our-
findings, but no final decision on the entire property from the DEC. They haven't made a final statement to us about the entire property at the DEC on EPCAL, on this portion, the 2,300 acres.
Look at our preservation map, that's how it was designed, by sitting with them and understanding the ecologically sensitive areas in the property where they wanted to see development, where they didn't want to see development. It's not, we didn't make it up.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying there is still some flexibility. If somebody purchased the land, this clause would allow them to go back to the DEC and try and cull back some property. This would.
Well, you say cull back, I say perhaps move the developed areas to
Okay,
different areas.
but that's a little bit of mixing words. They could also expand on the 600 acres. If they were allowed to have if they're allowed to amend the taking permit as per the agreement, then they can go back to the DEC and say, can we take another, right, they can make an application, take a look, and see if there's more land available for them. I mean, that's what I'm asking.
I would suggest that you would make an appointment to come to our work session and speak to us at our work session about this.
Okay.
So we all can understand what's happening and what details have been given out and what details have not been given out. Because we were told not to discuss this, but everybody else is discussing it now.
It's in the letter of intent.
Because the contracts
I didn't
have
know.
to be
No.
worked out.
Right. Well, this is what I'm addressing prior to the contract being, it's just information that I'm passing on that I have questions about, because you haven't done the definitive letter of agreement, so it's questions that I'm raising about that. And then my other question was, when was the last appraisal of the property done?
Sorry.
When was the last appraisal of the property conducted?
When was the last appraisal done?
Right, so you got your selling price of $40 million, you're considering it a good price.
We did an appraisal when we did when we embarked upon this endeavor, where we hired an appraiser to go out and appraise the property. And do a market analysis, I think it was in 2011 or 2012? 2012.
Okay, so almost 5 years ago, you had
Property's been on the market for a year.
Right, so, but you had it appraised 5 years ago, and you're using that as your price, and that was when you were selling 600 acres, not the 2,300 acres to a particular individual, correct?
Yes.
So my question is, has it been appraised at the 2,300 acres to see what the value of 2,300 acres at EPCAL is?
2,300 acres of developable land.
But that would be what a certified appraiser would look at.
You find 600 acres that you can develop and make a business out of.
All right, let's wrap this up. So-
But so then why are we selling more than the 600 acres without an appraisal?
Because
That's my question.
With that extra land comes maintenance and stuff that the town is burdened with financing. If they're willing to overtake and do that financing to the DEC's satisfaction, that's a win-win for the taxpayer.
So then I agree with you, but I would then ask you, if that is what you're saying and that is what you believe, that in your definitive agreement, that you include something that anything beyond that 600 acres cannot be developed.
The only thing I can tell you.
That's what I'm asking.
I can tell you working 10 years here.
Yeah, that's it. So, okay, thank you.
But 10 years with DEC, good luck with any of that, trust me. We spent
Okay,
$700,000.
thank you.
Thank you. How are you?
Good evening. My name is Dan Sakowitz. I'm a resident of Oak Street and Wading River. Hey, Tim. And I want to circle back to this gentleman just a few minutes ago who made reference to investment property. And as a CPA for business practices, as a CPA for business practices, I certainly respect investment and the business opportunity this great country offers us. However, I also want to circle back to what Jody said about residences and the quality of life. That Creek Road and Oak Street are not a commercial place. It is not hotels, motels, or any other commercial establishment. There's one restaurant, which is great, but it's mostly residential, and we do care about garbage and collection and overparking and noise on weekends and rowdy parties. The parties consist mostly of young men and young women. God bless them, they're having bachelor and bachelorette parties. I was young once. I still like to go to those parties if they'd let me, but not on Oak Street and not on Creek Road. It's not zoned for it. It should not be available. I'm not done yet. I have my 5-6 minutes at least. And I'm sorry I'm reading, but I wanted to make sure I didn't miss any points. And we feel very strongly about this. As the town well knows, Ms. Greco and Ms. Niehoff, which we're in litigation with, have been renting out their home and managing others in direct violation of the town code. Additionally, they have persuaded others to follow suit. I strongly suspect that their intentions are not the community well-being, as they've often stated, but rather the significant financial gains they realize. In the last week, I have reached out to many residents, and of course the town board, and the community, and not one of them was in support of a trial period of 2 weeks. It is the responsibility of the board to consider the direct negative impact to the residents who will most be affected by our actions. Any settlement must be based upon the expectation of trust and compliance. Ms. Greco gave testimony multiple times under oath at a zoning board meeting that she had not rented out her home, before finally admitting that she had. That's under oath. I was there. It's on tape. Additionally, even while the town has been bringing action against the multiple violations, it appears that the short-term rentals are ongoing throughout this whole period. They know it's a violation. It hasn't stopped. I've seen it. I've reported it. They have proven to be bad neighbors many times, and we as a group that are here tonight can cite many specific examples. Rewarding illegal and bad behavior by the perpetrators is illogical and contradictory to common sense. The terms of the proposed settlement is a strong affront to us, the neighbors who have had to put up with the situation for years as neighbors. Additionally, we respectfully request that the resolution be voted on not at a 2 o'clock meeting, but at an evening meeting when we can be present. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rosina DeMarco. I am a resident of Creek Road. I've lived there for 47 years. I've raised my family there. My parents raised us there. And my brothers and owners, that we own it together, our children and our grandchildren are raised there. We are made aware that a proposal is being presented to the board related to the issues arising out of litigation related to Town Code Paragraph 263 and transient rentals and enforcement of that code. As we understand, a temporary settlement which will attempt to mitigate the issues which have arisen from transient rentals by allowing 2-week rental periods with a 3-day minimum stay will be proposed to the town board. The enforcement of the settlement includes the provision that compliance inspections require a 3-day notice prior to inspection. We applaud the town for taking action in code enforcement and in attempting to address quality of life issues for residents of Creek Road, Oak Street, and other areas in Wading River and the town of Riverhead. However, it is our opinion that the settlement proposed will not address the issues we experience. The following are concerns that we have regarding this solution as we understand it to be. The settlement itself invalidates the current town code regarding the requirement that a rental cannot be for 29 days or less. Past practices shows that some of those who have offered their property for transient rentals have knowingly defied the law and expected no consequence. We have concerns that such a settlement will still result in all the problems that go hand in hand with short-term rentals. In other words, the proposed solution would now provide the owners with the legal backing to do what they have for years been doing illegally. It is counterintuitive. The weekend short-term rentals, 3-day rentals typically over a weekend or holiday, create the most havoc and annoyance. Individuals and groups that rent the beach properties for these very short periods tend to cause excessive noise, increased trash and littering on the beach and on Creek Road, and increased traffic safety and parking issues. We've also noticed that a large percentage of the renters allow their dogs to run free on the beach, which creates unnerving and threatening situations for those of us who regularly walk along the edge of the water or who are just enjoying the beach. To make the situation worse, many do not clean up after their dogs or after themselves. When I go for a walk on the beach, I now carry several garbage bags with me, and I am busy picking up people's beer bottles, diapers, which is lovely. I won't go into more explicit things that we get the lovely opportunity to see on a daily basis, which we are responsible for cleaning up, because I certainly don't want my property to look like that, nor would I want anyone else's. While the proposed settlement creates a 2-week rental period, the caveat of allowing a minimum 3-day stay does nothing to mitigate the problems that are apparent with the very short-term rentals, given the compliance inspection provisions of the proposal. It is not a solution for other residents along the beach. As we understand it, the town has the ability to inspect the properties for adherence to the settlement stipulations with a 3-day notice to the owners. It appears to us that because of this relatively long heads-up time period, it would be difficult to observe behavior that is contrary to the proposed solution. Whatever infraction was observed and reported to the appropriate official would be long gone or over by the time an inspection would be performed. In our opinion, the chances of finding an issue with individuals who have for years successfully defied the law following 3-day advance inspection notice are very slim, thus perpetuating the previous unlawful behavior. Consequently, there are few options available to register a complaint or report a violation. The most likely option would be to call the police, and in many cases, there would not be much that they could do as a result of the 3-day inspection notice. Personally, we would not choose to elevate a suspected infraction caused by a renter to the level of causing the police unless there's a specific threat or a problem. We support maintaining the current Town Code paragraph 263-4D, which states transient rentals are prohibited. We also do not support any change of zoning of the Creek Road and Oak Street areas that would allow for hotels, motels, and/or bed or breakfast establishments. The zoning should remain as it currently is, and we are asking that the town of Riverhead enforce the law. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Bab Sackwitz. I'm also a resident at Oak Street, and just want to add to what's been said already, that we would like the board to consider all of this and maintain the 30-day or 29-plus day rental. And I'm able to be here to speak, but I want to read a letter that, for somebody who has not here at this time. It was submitted today. I think there was another letter that wasn't in the minutes before. My family has owned our home on Creek Road in Wading River for many years. I'm sending this communication. Oh, sure. I'm sending this communication to each member of the board. It has come to my attention that the board will be seriously considering entering into an agreement with certain homeowners on Creek Road. Part of the intent of such an agreement would require the town to modify the current ordinance that provides for rental of one's home for only periods of 29 days or longer to one tenant. I am strongly in opposition to the changing of the current regulation. This matter is important to the entire community, not just Creek Road. The board should explain in writing why it wants to change the ordinance. If the community wants to change an ordinance, then the democratic process prescribed in the town regulations should be followed. In my opinion, if you are to change the regulation by agreement, then you are diminishing the enforceability of this ordinance and setting precedents to have others argue for similar treatment on other ordinances as well. Regulations in community have been well thought out and were approved for the purpose of, in this case, among other considerations, maintaining the harmony, the beauty and character of the area. Would you change your building codes arbitrarily? I highly doubt it. To think that law enforcement can be improved by reducing 29 days to 14 days is illogical. Whatever you institute for 14 days can be done for 29 days as well. Improving procedures under the current law is all that is required. If something isn't working, you fix it. You don't destroy it. If more enforcement is the objective, then the board can do that by modifying the ordinance, subject to the prescribed legal proceedings. For example, require an annual compliance statement with the payment of property taxes that each property owner confirms that they did not have any rental income for less than 29 days from any one tenant. If the property owner or owners files a false statement, then they can be heavily fined and/or suffer other penalties for their dishonesty. The law is the law. If you don't file your tax returns and pay your taxes, then you pay penalties. Creek Road is not a commercial zone. Short-term rentals are like motels. Creek Road is not zoned for motels. The renters do not respect many of the current regulations. Short-term rentals lead to higher usage rates with other odds that following occurs. They park on the road, which is not permitted. They park on other people's property without permission, and at times can be nasty when been asked to move their vehicles. They leave garbage on the road, and I know I'm being repetitious, but I'm reading the letter, sorry. And on days when there is no pickup scheduled. Raccoons and other animals then have a messy field day. They light fires on the beach, which is illegal without a permit. They can be loud late into the night because many of the renters are occupied by large number of partygoers. Some of the homes even seem overcrowded and may be violating building and safety codes. They sometimes come with boats and jet skis and are using the ramp without permits. They sometimes bring their dogs that leave excrement on the beach and not having followed the pooper scooper laws. There are two people who have turned Creek Road into a business, which is based, it appears, on a direct violation of the ordinance. They've encouraged others to let them manage the rental of their properties for big fees. Most likely, many of the homeowners, until recently, did not know they were violating the law. They were not securing the renters through their website, etc. Would you make a deal with two people in particular who have violated the law rather than enforce it? If the rentals comply with the 29-day ordinance, then we all have to live with that reality. Please don't create an alt reality. Thank you for taking the time to hear this communication. With kind regards, and it was signed by Mr. Herb Gardner. And
I distributed that today to the town clerk for.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure if it got here in time, so I wanted to make sure it was heard. And I echo his sentiments. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, hello, I'm Steve Shapiro. I'm going to give a different perspective on this need to keep the 30-day rental, minimum 30-day rental. I'm a president of the Wading River Field and Tennis Club. We're at 64 Creek Road. The club has been in existence for 82 years. And those of you who know Walter Lippmann was one of the originators of this club. This club we've always had very good relationships with our neighbor. Every member of the club is a resident of the Wading River, and everything has been cordial. It's been very nice. We look after some of the neighbors' property if see something's going on, and they also notify us if there's some rowdiness going on to our beach club. We have the largest parking lots that exist on Creek Road. We have property north and south of Creek Road that belong to this club. Everything was hunky-dory for up till about the last couple of years, when a property adjacent to us, just east of us, was recently sold. And it's one of these group housings, if you like, or property. And the experiences that we've had is we have many of our members store their kayaks at our club, and they use interchangeably with our members. This house next door to us, well, they decided that was their kayaks. So they picked their kayak up, they left it on their beach, didn't even return it to us. We found that there was an overflow of their parking because they have maybe 5 or 6 cars in the move into our parking lot. As I said, we have about 80 members, and if we have an event, that becomes a difficulty. So it just, this is progressing, and it's going to get even worse if you can keep that. And it's surprising that these people are allowed to break the laws. I mean, I just Googled Creek Road vacation Wading River. I have one. It happens to be 2 Oak Street. And if you look, it's available from April 1st to 2017 to 2018. And there's the daily price for rental, the weekly price, and many times monthly it says not even available. And there's Airbnb, there's HomeAway. All of these are available, and this apparently is illegal with the code. It should be enforced.
I agree.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Or code enforcement.
Hi, James Sorny. It's C-S-O-R-N-Y, 18 Oak Street, Wading River. First, I don't know if Bab Sakowitz was just up here. Was this letter given to the town clerk, or should I give it to?
Which one is that?
The one from Herb Gardner.
Yeah, it's already
in? Okay, great.
It's been circulated, yeah.
Okay. One of the concerns I have, which is basically the same as everyone else, other than the people that you're in negotiation with own numerous properties, but one of them is 2 Oak Street. And on that property, they have an accessory apartment. and if I understand correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, when you own an accessory apartment on your property, you need to be occupying the main residence on that property. And in this agreement, they're going to be able to not only not occupy that property, they're going to be able to rent that property and their accessory apartment. So people that are violating the town code right now, which that accessory apartment should be pulled from them, which is not being done, and there's numerous complaints for 2.5 years. Well, let me come back on that. 2.5 years on their rental. They only have the accessory apartment for about a year. But there's been complaints for a year, year and a half on this, and nothing's been done. That accessory apartment should be removed from that property because they are not claiming it as their primary residence. If they're, and you guys are negotiating to let them not only not claim it, let them rent that and their accessory apartment, which I don't even know if that's legal. Maybe it's legal because you're in a settlement in court, but I doubt that would hold up to, I think it's in Article 78. I'm not exactly sure if that's, but I don't see how that could possibly be negotiated with people who are costing this town a huge amount of money to keep them in compliance and make our neighborhood somewhat a neighborhood. Now, the second thing I want to bring up, which no one's brought up, and the chief's still here. I hope the chief doesn't get upset at this, but I don't understand why. Let me put it this way. I understand it's a very difficult thing when you have 2 code compliance officers, and I don't know, is the town 50 miles square or 40 miles?
67.7.
Okay, so,
You're Friday from 8:30 to 4:30. Don't forget
and
that.
they don't work weekends, correct?
Right.
So I understand how difficult it is for you guys to get the necessary documentation you need to prosecute and to go to court. Why we do not use the police department, and the only reason I reference this is I've been through this before in another municipality. I used to work for New York City, and in my occupation for them, we had what they called a Happy Lands fire in 1992 happen. 80-something people died. Mayor Dinkins didn't want it to happen again. In my first promotion, I was in charge of a unit that went out and did social clubs. There was too many for us to handle. We couldn't get our handle on. And we ran helter-skelter going after everyone, instead of when we had a few people nailed down, and we brought in the police to help us because we needed more manpower. When we nailed them down, the rest of the people started to come into compliance because the word got out that we're not going to settle with you. We're taking you to court. And the legal department for the fire department took everyone to court with the district attorney, and the social clubs stopped it. The illegal social clubs stopped. And it could save the city of New York a huge amount of money, let alone the life and safety that it did. Because we followed through on what we started to do and enforced the laws of the city of New York and not compromise with people that were breaking the law. Thanks.
Well, we are, actually, the Code Enforcement Committee has met a few times, and the chief of police is involved in those meetings. And the chief of police, the fire department, we're all getting involved, realizing that we're short-staffed in code enforcement. And it's been very effective so far with the work that the police department and the fire department has been doing in bringing the fire marshal in when they realize that a room has been divided into 2. When they're in there taking pictures, they're calling code enforcement, the chief of police and the policemen are, we're paying attention to what's going on inside of these houses when there's a call made for, whatever it may be.
I agree with that. The only difference is when a lot of these violations take place where you can document them are on the weekend. And you can't get a code compliance officer on the phone because they don't work the weekends. And even when you can get code enforcement to go there, it's a big difference between having a law enforcement officer show up and question the people and explain to them that where they're at when they're giving a statement to them. And it makes a huge difference between renters saying, oh, well, I'm a family member, as opposed to people. You have 3 law enforcement officers on this panel. They know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a lot harder to. Okay, so I don't understand why you don't get the police department. It would make it a lot easier for all of us.
As
Councilwoman Giglio has pointed out, we have been asking them to assist, and they have been going out on the weekends and banging on some doors and in the last few months.
That I had heard, Rob.
So
Yeah, thanks.
they have been going out. In fact, I've been getting calls from certain owners who are angry, thinking we're picking on them because we're banging on their doors on the weekends. So they have been out there. And as far as the accessory apartment issue, the idea of the accessory apartment law was that you have a structure that's owner-occupied. Accessory apartment would be an accessory apartment. So
You have to own or occupy the primary residence.
That's correct.
Correct. You can't occupy the accessory apartment. You have to occupy.
I'm not so sure you're right about that.
Well, the way, I might have read the law wrong, but I think you take a look at it. That's the way it reads to me.
It's not supposed to be a two-family setup. It's supposed to be an accessory apartment, which was with the understanding that.
But I know that some elderly people have built accessory apartments, moved into it, and rented the bigger part of the house.
But that's not what your law says they can do.
That's not the way it's supposed to be.
No, that's not what your law says, Jim. Councilman.
The smaller part of the house is the
I'm not so
accessory
sure. I sat on
apartment.
that committee when they could.
Well, I'll look at it again, but the way I read it, it says that you need to occupy the primary residence. That's the exact wording you
Right,
have in
yes.
there.
And
Which
the
means the
small
primary
part-
residence, that was there before the accessory apartment, which means you need to be in the I understand people might have a kid that comes back from college or whatever situation, and people might be older, and they might move into the accessory apartment, and the neighbors might not care about that. But the neighbors on Oak Street care about what's going on at 2 Oak Street, and we are not going
Well,
to
that's not
let.
even the case at 2 Oak Street, right? So it's a
Sure
moot
it is.
point, right?
Sure it is.
Yes, it is.
There's
I
an
thought
ex-
nobody's living there, right?
No.
They're in
Rents out
both properties, right?
Properties.
They have an accessory apartment,
Correct.
which how they got that, because it's in the front yard, which in your code reads that under,
All right, so they got an accessory apartment,
Correct.
and they're living in it?
No.
no one knows where they live.
All right, well, that's.
But the bottom line is they're supposed to
Whole
live,
different scenario.
they're supposed to live in that main residence. If not, they shouldn't have the accessory apartment, which means you guys should be pulling that accessory apartment from them.
It's all
That's
being
what it
looked
means.
at. It's all being looked at, we're in litigation, and it's all being looked at.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, James.
Hi, good evening. I'm John McAuliffe. I live in Rolling Woods section. Our association has not met to take a position on the EPCAL housing, so I'm speaking purely personally or raising questions. And I'm a little, the protocol I don't understand entirely because one of the members of the board said that this was not supposed to be discussed here, and I don't know whether it means discussion among you or discussion with us, but I had several questions that related to the statements that have already been given. One is a sense of the time thing that we're now working on in terms of decisions that are involved in the sale to Illuminati and the conditions of sale. What your sense is as to when that working session will be, whether that working session is the same time as the more technical evaluations will take place, the due diligence or whatever the proper terms are for.
That's what's going on now, is the due diligence.
That's happening out
As we speak.
professionally outside of the public, but in terms of when the public report is made and it's subject to questions and discussions.
Once the letter of intent was signed, they have 30 days to get a contract together. And then after the contract, then they have 90 days due diligence.
And when
It's
will that
90 days,
come
John, it's 90
for
days.
public?
90-day due diligence.
It's 90 days. For the contract?
When will that come for public discussion by the board, by citizens commenting upon?
There'll be a public hearing, a qualified and eligible sponsor
That's-
hearing.
that's the big-
That's the time when the public comes out.
But do you have a time frame about, where does that fit within the 90-day?
That would happen after the 90 days.
After the 90-day. So if there were language to be written into the letter of agreement or the contract that said that housing was completely excluded now and in the future, would that happen before the 90 days or would that happen after the
It would
90
happen
days?
during contract negotiations, which is ongoing right now.
So, but how, so this is the only vehicle to say now that we think that it's important, and when would the board itself, if members of the board are sympathetic to putting in a prohibition on housing in the contract, when would you guys decide that and put it into the contract?
That would be negotiated between our attorney, their attorney, and their contract.
Yeah, and we're listening.
But somebody has to
and
mandate
we're
the
listening
attorney.
to you now.
Well,
So if you're against it, then we know that you're against it.
Yeah,
And
but
that-
I'm asking how
Yeah,
what your
we'll meet
process
with
is
our
and how
counsel.
you.
We will meet with our counsel
And it
that's
would all be
representing
open.
us in the contract and the sale.
But is that
We
in the
will con-
working session, or is that?
Can you let me finish?
Yeah, sure, go ahead, sorry.
We will convey what we want to convey to them for that contract during that process, prior to the contract being signed. That's how the process works.
And then we will, as a town board, authorize the supervisor to sign the contract. So the contract will be available to the public to read, and you're more than welcome to come back when that resolution is put up to authorize the supervisor to sign the actual contract.
Okay.
So you'll know everything that will be in the contract when we vote to authorize the supervisor to sign it.
Okay. And is, I mean, we have heard informally that there is a predisposition among you to put that language in, and I'm not asking for that to be publicly confirmed, but.
No, and we wouldn't publicly confirm that, because in part of contract negotiations, why would you show your hand publicly when the other side can use that against you?
Well, because it's a fairly strongly felt principle of people in the
Understand,
town.
but that's why you have the opportunity to come up here and talk, and we listen to that, but we're not going to discuss it now.
Right, and
because of the contract
and
process.
the process for repealing, if that's the right word, for repealing or eliminating the supportive use section that's been referred to, that's a totally different timeline from this 90-day.
Yes.
So that would,
Anything to do with the code, we don't discuss in the contract. If it's in the code, we can request that he not put them in, but we can't change the code during the contract
It's all a
negotiation.
matter of time. We can ask Illuminati that, listen, we need you to covenant that you're not gonna put any residential in now or forever. If that's what we so decide.
right, and if.
But we're certainly not gonna go and say, all right, you should be looking at this great piece of property, and here's your uses, oh, by the way, just before you buy it, we're taking that use away from you, we're not gonna do that. As far as zoning, as far as changing the zoning or public hearings.
Well, in a sense, you would take it away from them if you
In
put this
contract.
language in the
Through
contract negotiations.
Through purchase of sale.
But I assume you couldn't change the code after the contract and have it retroactively apply. Once the contract is done, it
No, you can't.
couldn't apply retroactively.
I can't imagine doing that.
And in this question, which has been brought up about the issue of why not just sell the 600 acres and leave the rest of the land within the control of the town, or deed it over to the county or state for recreation.
The supervisor,
When would that come up for discussion?
that's not gonna come up for discussion because he's buying all the open land that's available to him.
So you've already made that,
Because-
you've already made that decision that all of the open land will be
No,
sold?
because the supervisor stated that it will cost the town taxpayers over $100,000 to take care of that land. So,
I know, but $100,000 is, frankly, in terms of the town
We're not
budget,
in
is not.
contract yet, so all of that is being discussed right now as to what acreage we are selling, what acreage is coming out for the rec trail, for the water district, for, anything else.
So in other words, the issue of whether to go beyond the 600 acres is still up for discussion and
An offer was
contract.
made, a letter of intent was signed, and now they're negotiating a contract.
But the
But
state
the-
DEC has said that to the town of Riverhead, when we went in with the subdivision map, we proposed that we were gonna build out the whole entire piece. And the DEC scaled us back and said, no, this is all you can develop. So that is what the real estate brokers that the town has hired has been marketing, is the 600 acres of developable property. Because the area around the runways, certain runway, the eastern runway is not to be developed, he may want to shift development over to there. We don't know that yet. We're in the process of still discussing exactly what he wants to do, what his intentions are for the property, what his qualifications are to develop the property, and all of that is currently in discussion.
And so you still would have the option in the course of those discussions to say, we're gonna hang on to the other
Absolutely.
land.
Sure, if
That's-
they pull out of the sale and.
No, not if they pull out, if you change your mind about what you want to sell.
That is correct, that is a possibility, yeah.
All right. In other words, it's still relevant for
Yes.
people to
Well,
say,
no, there was a letter of intent signed. and I
but does the letter of intent specify the full acreage, or,
Try to wrap this up.
The available acreage.
but what's available? Is available 600 or 2,300? That's the,
That's what's being negotiated.
Yeah, that's one of the negotiations.
okay,
The
well,
letter of intent is saying, I wanna buy the whole entire piece of property, and I'm qualified to develop it, and this is who I am, and this is where I'm
Right.
getting my funding from, and the letter of intent is what his intention is for the property, and now everything else is negotiated through contract.
all right. And so you still have to make your own decision
Absolutely.
about what goes in. Okay, thank you very much. I have a small neighborhood question, which is the end of Roanoke Avenue lost about 3 or 4 feet in that storm that affected the other beaches. Is that the town's responsibility, or is that someone else's?
Where is it?
End of Roanoke Avenue, where there's the slope that people take vehicles down to go beach
The
driving.
actual ramp.
Reeves Beach.
The ramp washed away?
Totally, it's like a
Roanoke
4-foot
Beach.
drop.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And that's been true for about a month, so I'd assume.
If it's our property, we'd be responsible for it, I think it is.
That is your property.
Yeah.
The ramp is ours.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening, my name is Charles Sclafani, I live in Wading River, and I belong to no associations. I'm here on my own behalf.
I'm sorry, you talking in the mic? I didn't hear you.
I'm talking in the mic.
You can't hear me?
All right, I'll talk this way.
Talk a little louder.
That better?
There you go.
All right. Couple of comments and a couple of questions. First of all, a little background. I live over on North Side Road in Wading River. My house was built directly under the flight path of all the airplanes Grumman used to have. And it was a great thrill to see those jets going
Jets
over
go
my
right
house.
over.
Right over my house.
That's it.
They would be treetop level, because as they would hit the cliffs, they would drop down, go across the water, and then jettison out. I'm hoping my grandchildren someday get to see Illuminati's drones do that over my house. It was a thrill and a half to watch these planes. My son and I talk about it constantly. That's number one. Number two, moving towards Illuminati. I've got in front of me the code, section 301-341. It says, residential, the planning development district shall allow a limited number of attached
Right.
residential housing units located on the same lot in support of the principal permitted use within the portion of EPCAL, and then it goes on to explain all the stuff. My interpretation of that is dormitory style or condo style. It has to be in support of the principal unit. In other words, if Illuminati buys this property, they can't build subdivision of houses up to, because this says up to 300 units
Can't do that.
individually. Okay, so that's moot. There is a limit on how many houses can be built, except if they want to come back to the board and get a special permit,
Right.
which is probably in every development there is. So that's nothing new. So there is a limit of 300
You're correct.
attached, not individual, in support of the research.
Yes.
Now, I say that with a lot of knowledge of what happened in Stony Brook, because when Stony Brook was in its infancy, in the 60s and the early 70s when I worked there, I had to maintain housing units on the university for all the research scientists that were brought in from around the world. They're still there. Some of them call them dormitories. They live there. They were special, built for those type of people. They even have in what's the name of it? It's on the cliffs there, over by Setauket. It's Sherwood is the name of the mansion that's there. It's a mansion. And you got people like Charlie Wang. People know who he is. Those super geniuses, they would get the mansion, even though that was off campus because it wasn't with the kids. Okay? So normal in a research development area, they do this. You bring in these people for temporary housing. It's not permanent housing. Having said that, all the comments about it's not restricted, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, the naysayers, well, they should have been here back in 2013 when this thing was passed, not today, when we possibly have a buyer.
I think
Okay.
you're one of the only ones that read that code. Everyone here is housing, and you think we're gonna put developments in.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying this
You're
now.
one of
because-
the only ones that had read the code.
Well, most people that drive-by readers, you heard of drive-by shooters, they're drive-by readers, they see a headline, they know the whole story.
Right.
They've all read War and Peace in 2 minutes, okay? Now, having said that, when you look at, what I understand right now with the X amount of acres, I don't care how many acres are sold and how many Illuminati gets or whoever else gets it. I understand that's $1.5 million into the town coffers, split between the school in Riverhead and the town itself. If nothing is ever built there, someone buys it from us. Right away, it goes on the town tax rolls, and we start collecting money. As everybody knows, this town, and all I hear of all the naysayers, how bad we are, what shape we're in financially, and how much we're overtaxed and everything else, this is going to alleviate a lot of it. And personally, again, I want to see those drones go over my house. I'd love to have my grandchildren see it, my grandsons. I'd love to sit there with my son and reminisce about that stuff again. But more importantly, we're going to have development here. We're going to have something. And I think if you change it, because certain people, 4 years after this thing was enacted, decide for political purposes to put a pin in the balloon, then you guys don't belong up there. You're here for the town, not for the few who want to just derail this town from moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, tell me how you really feel. Want to read it?
I think we need to the flight path for the helicopters needs to go over Wading River. That might help a little bit.
Enjoy it.
I've read the code. 300 is a starting point. Everybody knows you come here for more stuff and get a special permit, you're going to get it. The point I want to make is it's unclear what the town is selling. That's supposedly undevelopable. As we've seen, land use zoning can change like that, and I think that we should be very careful how to protect these beautiful landscapes, natural landscapes that the town owns. Why are we giving them away without the right protections? I've done the math. It looks like from the letter of intent, you start with 2,323 acres, and you subtract out lots 21, 42, 45, 46, 48, 49. You end up with about 1,766 acres, of which supposedly 660 is developable. So we just gifted almost 1,200 acres of land to somebody, and we think that it's going to be not developed? Why would anyone want to buy that much land and not have some idea that they could develop it? I think, please think about that before you go ahead and make this deal. Why are we giving that land away for practically nothing? And I don't know how it's going to be protected in the future. Is it possible that what we think it costs the town is the wrong number? That $100,000 per year is wrong? Is it possible we can negotiate it down by talking to the DEC? Is it possible we can bid that work out and bring it down? We're giving away 1,200 acres to save $100,000? I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense to me
It's
as a
$100,000
businessman.
a year.
Yeah.
What?
It's $100,000 a year. There was the habitat protection plan.
Yeah.
That the DEC wanted.
$100,000 a year.
In the habitat protection plan, it specifies which lands have to be protected and can't be developed.
Ever.
So.
Ever.
Nothing is
Ever.
forever, sir. Nothing is forever.
Well,
I worked for
neither are you and me.
DEC
Right,
myself
we
for
won't be here to worry about
17
it.
years.
So you're right.
Yeah, that's right. The problem is, we don't know what other town boards can do. Other town boards can change stuff. Our intent was to bring business in, if they have to bring high-powered people in for 8 to 9 months, that they have someplace on that property to live for 8 or 9 months so they can complete. It wasn't to put housing developments in there. Our intent was to bring people in to help you out if we get high tech in there, and that's what it was for. Now,
Sir, that may have been your intent, but that's not the way it reads. I'm just asking you to take a look at what you think the cost of maintaining that 1,200 acres really is, or really could be, if we try to bring the cost down, and why should we give that away? It's a beautiful, town-owned, natural landscape. Why are we giving that away?
Point well taken.
Thank you. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
anybody
I
want to
want a
speak?
motion to adjourn the meeting.
We make a motion to adjourn the meeting. So moved.
A second. Second. Second.
Aye.
Yeah, right?
Okay.